Two friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. Two friends just made a podcast. It's called Culture Bucket. Two friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. Two friends just made a podcast. Culture Bucket, Georgia and Antlers.
Hello. Hi. How you doing? Welcome back to the greatest podcast in the world, season 3, loosely, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Things are going to be exciting and fresh and new and interesting over here, moving forwards, and we can't wait to get into all of it and, be with you again, which is wonderful. We're doing a classic style episode today. Top 5, culture catch-up, homework, all the things that you know and love will be on display. We'll be counting down our favourite Radiohead songs, which is very relevant as they've just released a big celebration of some of their best work. So we're very timely, as always, which is great. I am your host, George. I hope that you're well, and it's a pleasure to be back with you. And here is my co-host, Alex.
Hi, George. Hi, everyone. How are you, George, today?
I'm good today, thank you. I had a big internet-based panic about an hour ago and wasn't sure that I'd be able to record this morning. But luckily, thanks to absolutely none of the things I did to try and fix it, somehow it's working again, so I'm fine.
Yeah.
So I don't feel competent in any way, but I can at least do the things I wanted to do. So yeah, that's fine. How are you?
I'm good. Excited to be back. It's been a long time. I've missed us.
Good.
You're right, George.
I banged my arm on the radio next to me.
You made such a pained face with no sound. It was like, ah.
Well,
yeah.
Just try not to call attention to it.
Oh, sorry. Your face did make a funny expression. But yeah, I'm very excited about talking about Radiohead songs. Gave me a good opportunity to listen to all of their discography again. And yeah, it's been good.
Yes, it has been good. Are you ready to get into some time, some stuff, some discussions of pop culture?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nice. Good.
This is Culture Catch-Up Time. This is where we talk about what we've watched, what we've read, what we've listened to, and probably some other stuff. Culture Catch-Up Time.
So am I going to kick off this week?
Yes, please.
Okay, cool. So I've watched, obviously since we last spoke, it's been a little while, so I've watched a ton of things. So I'm going to just go through kind of, the ones that are relevant to talk about. And for some of them, I'll just quickly give a what I thought of it. And for others, we'll stop and have a longer chat, if that makes sense. First up is a film called The Medium, which is a 2021 movie from this year. It's a Thai film from Thailand, and it's a mockumentary supernatural horror film. It nominally claims to be a documentary. As you're watching it, claims to be a documentary following shamans in Thailand to see what they do and how they sort of provide service to their communities, etc. And they focus in on a character called Nim, who is a shaman for a specific deity in Thailand. And they think they're making a documentary about Nim and what she does to kind of help her community and look after people. But very, very quickly, the focus of the movie shifts to Nim's niece, Mink, who begins acting rather strangely. And they try to get to the bottom of what is causing this new behaviour in Mink. If you're looking for a movie in which people say the word mink more times than any other point in human history, this is exactly the film for you. People say mink so often in this movie, it's pretty good. But yeah, it's sort of produced by, it's a co-production between Korea and Thailand, and in its creative team is the writer and director of a movie from a few years ago called The Wailing, which is one of the greatest horror films to come out in the past decade. Probably the one, and also one of the best films at all to come out of South Korea in recent years. But it's less well known than films like Parasite because it's this big, or it's almost 3 hours long, strange, weird horror film that is at some points is a zombie movie, at some points it's a possession film, other points it's like a comedy, which is what I love about Korean cinema, is that they can kind of move between genres and styles at the drop of a hat. This film is much more focused on being a found footage horror film, but it's a very entertaining one. So it doesn't do anything particularly new, but if you enjoy found footage and sort of fake documentaries and films in that style, like I've talked about Noroi the Curse in the past, then you should really enjoy the medium. It's streaming on Shudder in the UK, but can be found in other places, I think. And is brilliant, is really worth watch. So I'd recommend it to everyone. That's The Medium.
Sounds good.
Are you going to watch The Medium?
No.
Alex? No. But you'll never know what happened to Mink. What becomes of Mink?
I don't I don't care.
Oh, you should care. Mink's lovely.
It's
not nice to say that you don't care about things, Alex. It's quite rude. But fine. We'll move
Shut up. Do you want to argue while before starting recording, we had a one-sided argument, which I'm not going to talk about, but now George is trying to rehash the argument. If you want, we can do it.
No, I don't want to do it.
So, just because George likes the word "I don't care" a lot when I say stuff.
No, it's not true. Now you're making me sound like a really awful person. The next film to talk about is a Shudder original, so is definitely to be found on the streaming site Shudder. It's called VHS 94, and it's the fourth entry in the VHS franchise, which is a horror franchise of found footage anthology movies. Each film in the series features 3 or 4 short films, all done in the found footage style, and they usually have a bookending thing that wraps around that shows characters finding the tapes and watching the tapes, and then strange things happening. All of the VHS movies are a mixed bag. They generally have 1 or 2 really good shorts in them, and then 1 or 2 really, really bad ones. Unfortunately, VHS 94 contains almost exclusively terrible short features and is an awful film, and I wouldn't recommend anyone watch it. So that's all I have to say about VHS 94, is that you shouldn't watch it. But if you do watch it, just watch the first segment, because the first segment is the best segment in the film and is sort of quite entertaining, but the rest of it is a big waste of time. Then I went to the cinema, exciting, and I saw the latest Wes Anderson feature, The French Dispatch.
Oh, please don't talk to me about it. Oh.
Yeah, I know. So, I haven't seen it yet.
I don't want. I'm going to watch it on Wednesday, so don't talk to me about it.
No, I know. I'm not going to talk to you about it. I'm just saying I've seen it and that you haven't seen it. So we'll talk about it when you have seen it.
Yeah.
But this happened. It's out. It's a thing.
It's a thing. What did you think of the thing?
The John Carpenter film?
No, the film.
Oh, The French Dispatch?
Yeah.
You told me not to say what I thought about it.
No, I don't want to know the plot. I just want to know.
All right, okay. Well, I'll say
this
this much about it. It's not his best film, but it's a very fun time.
Yeah. But because we've spoken about how we perceive Wes Anderson differently, is it more like the Wes Anderson you like, or is it more the Wes Anderson I like?
I think it's something in between, because I mean, do you know anything about it?
No, because I don't.
Okay, so I wouldn't.
Okay,
it's a certain type of film, which makes it difficult for it to be the type of Wes Anderson you like. But it's not as funny as I'd like a good Wes Anderson movie to be. So it's not fully the type that I like. It kind of exists in a middle ground, which is kind of why I think it'll be slightly forgotten in his filmography, I think. Okay. But it's still always great to see a new Wes Anderson film.
Okay. Yeah, because
it's not a bad one.
It's really weird with Wes Anderson films. I try not to read anything about them or watch anything before I watch the film. I want to be totally surprised. So
I still liked it. I had a good time. I'll definitely watch it again. So, you should be excited to see it. Yeah. Good. I watched a film that I watched a movie that I've been meaning to watch for years that appears on no streaming services and isn't on Blu-ray and is hard to watch, but finally popped up on Amazon, so I've been able to watch it. It's a 2007 French film. It's often kind of considered to be part of the new French extremity horror genre, which features movies like I think Switchblade Romance and Martyrs, and just these generally irreversible, just very intense, violent, difficult to watch French horror films. And this one is called Inside, or À l'intérieur, if you're bad at saying French words. It's basically about a woman who's pregnant, and she's home alone one night because the father of the baby has died before the birth of the child, which is sad, with a pair of scissors and a determination to acquire the baby. And I won't go into much more detail than that, but it's pretty grim. And if you like extreme horror films, then Inside is a good one to watch. Alex is shaking her head. I think there's a scene near the end of this movie that would make you pass out fully, like actually pass out. I think if you watched it, you would collapse. So don't watch it.
Okay. I'll
for other people, it's a good time.
What makes it a good time watching somebody being dismembered?
I mean, people have spoken about this at length a lot, and I've never heard anyone give a good answer. It's hard to define it. It's just sort of it's the closest and you don't like these either. The closest I can say is it's a roller coaster. It's getting to experience something quite unpleasant, but in a very safe environment.
Oh,
and it just kind of fires off certain chemicals, certain reactions in your brain that you don't really get anywhere else. And it's just quite, why people are addicted to smoking, why people, it's just sort of it gives you a bit of a rush in a certain way that you can't find anywhere else. A really good horror film, and especially a really good French horror film of this style is a hard thing to come by. And I'll be talking about a more recent one quite soon, actually, that I saw in the cinema.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Good. I guess I don't like The Rush.
Well, no, I guess you don't. But you should try it. You should. You do it. I think you do though, because you watched Hereditary. Like, I think you just sort of you find it quite intense. But you've watched some horror films recently and enjoyed them.
The thing is, the problem is it stays with me. Like now, if there's not much light in a room, I just imagine Toni Collette being in the corner where she shouldn't be. And so I feel like I'd rather just live a calm life and not having like PTSD from these kind of things.
I won't spoil anything specifically, but out of the horror films you've watched recently, I'd say the most... How did you find watching somebody saw off their own head with piano wire?
That was pretty gross, yeah.
But you watched it?
I did watch it, yeah. What, because you made me watch it? I didn't have a choice.
Did you... You didn't you did what we were talking about recently. It's something that we've recorded that hasn't been put out yet, but there's a really important moment in something we watched recently that you revealed you hadn't actually watched when we talked about it.
Yeah.
But that's because of the character. Yeah. Rather than what. Yeah. It's interesting.
I feel. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Maybe my imagination is really like crazy, and I kind of imagine that it could be real. I don't know.
That's fair.
Because it's a safe environment, but my head is not necessarily a safe environment.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that's true. After
true
years of knowing each other. Oh yeah, I guess that's true.
Okay, so moving on. Since we last recorded as well, I've discovered a podcast that I really like and listened to all of it, and it's a podcast called the ParaPod, which is it ran for 3 seasons from like 2015 to 2018-ish. It's a British podcast featuring the comedians Ian Boldsworth and Barry Dodds, in which Barry Dodds is a big believer in ghosts. He goes on ghost hunts all the time and is like into the paranormal world.
Wow.
And Ian Boldsworth is a complete skeptic who doesn't believe it at all. And each episode is that Barry Dodds brings along a case of a haunting or a ghostly event that he tries to convince Ian Boldsworth is real. And they kind of argue about whether it's real or not. It's very, very funny and very good. And yeah, I really loved it. And the reason I listened to the podcast is because I was browsing Amazon Video one day and I saw a new film pop up called The ParaPod, A Very British Ghost Hunt. And I was like, what's that? And I looked at it and it said it was, the first podcast to become a movie. And I was like, that sounds interesting. So I went and listened to the podcast and I really enjoyed it. So then I watched the film, which is very much a film version of the podcast where Barry takes Ian around the country to various different haunted locations to try and convince him that there were ghosts. While Ian sort of rolls his eyes and points out all of the things that can't possibly be true, etc. And it's really entertaining. I really liked it. If you go in and listen to the podcast and get into the podcast, I think you'll have a really good time with the film because you just end up being quite endeared towards the two comedians.
Okay.
Particularly Barry Dodds, who's like unlike anyone I've ever heard in my life, is a fascinating person.
Are they actually acting? Themselves?
No, they're real. They're just themselves. It's just a real, yeah.
Yeah, but so they are involved in the film.
Yeah, in the film they're just, it's like a documentary almost.
Okay.
But it was I really enjoyed it. Really, really enjoyable. And there's like one moment in particular in the film that's quite shocking, and I wasn't expecting to happen, and was it's really good. I'd recommend people check out that podcast. I mean, it's much bigger than our podcast, obviously. So. And also, I think they had this idea, Ian particularly had this idea to make it into a film and struggled to get financing and ended up sort of making it, a lot of it himself. He directed it himself and got a lot of crowdfunding for it. And it really feels like this thing that they've really made themselves with their own sort of sweat and tears. And it kind of shows and it all endears you to it, I think. And yeah, I really liked it. I really, really liked it. And I think, yeah, people should check it out. The ParaPod, A Very British Ghost Hunt, and the accompanying podcast. Is brilliant. Something that I'm not going to talk about for very long because it deeply disappointed me was a new Nicolas Cage movie from this year called Prisoners of the Ghostland. This is a movie directed by a Japanese director, actually. It's his first English language film. He's called Sion Sono. And Nicolas Cage plays a criminal who we see him robbing a bank at the start of the film. He ends up with I think did I show you that? I showed you the trailer.
Yeah, I watched the trailer.
Yeah, we watched the trailer. We did a YouTube on the trailer. Yeah. So he gets this like the governor, who's played by Bill Moseley, who was in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and is the only good thing in this film.
What, Nicolas Cage is not good?
Well, I'll talk about it, but Sophia Botella plays the governor's daughter. She goes missing in the Ghostland, and the governor takes this criminal, Nicolas Cage, puts this jumpsuit on him, which is covered in these little bombs. That he's got 2 on his neck, 2 on one on each arm, and then 2 on his one over each of his testicles, basically. And there's a timer on the suit, and Nicolas Cage has to go and rescue this guy's daughter. Otherwise, the bombs will explode. And there's also things like if he hits a woman, one of the things on his arm will explode. If he gets aroused, then one of the more upsettingly placed bombs will detonate, etc. Yeah, it does sound good. It sounds like a great idea for a movie, and I have been waiting to see it for ages, and it finally hit. It didn't come out in the cinemas, which sort of disappointed me a bit because I thought it would be a fun cinema watch, but I'm glad it didn't come out in the cinemas now. And Nicolas Cage, before it came out, was doing these interviews where he was saying, it's the wildest movie I've ever made, to the point where the trailer and the poster have that quote. You know, like posters will have quotes from film critics saying how good it is. The poster for this film has a quote from Nicolas Cage about how good the film is, which is, again, I was like, he's made some really wild films. It must be properly wild. And it is really wild, but it's one of these movies where it's hard to see what it's in service of. I mean, I think Sion Sono I've never seen any of his other movies. I think he's a very well-respected director. And I think he often brings into commentary around nuclear weapons and Hiroshima and things into his work. And there's a lot of that in this film, which is sort of commendable for him to be kind of discussing this and talking about this, but it feels like it's trying to make a point about that while at the same time not being entertaining on its own merits. I think if you've got a movie that's got a message in it about sort of an issue that you care strongly about, that's absolutely fine. But the movie itself still needs to be entertaining.
Yeah.
And in this film, it's just lots of characters saying wacky things and being wacky and silly and weird. And I like wackiness and silliness, but it's all just sort of random. It feels completely without focus.
Yeah.
Which ended up making it one of the most boring movies I've seen in quite a long time. And in a movie where Nicolas Cage has got grenades attached to his whole body and he's like running around screaming, and you've got like nuclear waste diseased prisoners that he's fighting, like, it should be an entertaining, interesting film, and unfortunately it's just really, really gratingly boring, and that was disappointing. I was really upset about that
because the trailer looked great.
Yeah, the trailer looked great, but it feels like the trailer for 2 hours without any, without anything else. I don't know. It was upsetting. Something else that I've not got great things to say about to speak about is a film that was due out before the pandemic hit and got pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and as a result, I've ended up seeing the trailer for this film 10, 20 times. Like every film I've been to the cinema to see, pre and post pandemic, has pretty much had a trailer for this film. It's a horror movie, executive produced by Guillermo del Toro.
Ooh.
And yeah, exactly, so that should get you excited, and directed by a guy called, what's his name, Scott Cooper, who isn't really known to be a horror film director, and the most well-known thing he's made, I think, is Crazy Heart, the film that Jeff Bridges won an Oscar for, portraying the country singer, which is a good film, but you wouldn't necessarily watch that movie and think, this is the guy that can make a scary monster movie.
Yeah.
It's got a great cast. It stars Kerry Russell and Jesse Plemons as sort of the two mains, as a brother and sister pair. It focuses in on a young boy called, I think, Lucas is the little boy in it. Yeah, Lucas, who basically, it's set in sort of similar area of America to where Twin Peaks is set. I think like sort of the northwest sort of states, logging areas and mining and places like that. And it's about a community that is torn apart when they are attacked by a mysterious creature that infects Lucas's father and younger brother and leaves him kind of defending them. He's a student in Kerry Russell's class. She's a teacher. And when she notices that things that seem to be not quite right with him, she steps in and tries to help him, leading to all kinds of supernatural monster-based weirdness. My issue with the movie is that every single character in the film, like literally every single character, is in a bad mood for the entire film. And it was just the most downbeat, depressing horror film I've seen, I think, ever. There was no light to it at all, and when your only shade you're providing the audience is darkness, it all just runs together, in my opinion, and doesn't quite work. And that's what happened for me with Antlers. I really was quite disappointed with it. It also uses Native American mythology in a very tokenizing way, without really giving a voice to any. There's one, I think, Native American actor or indigenous actor, Graham Greene, who basically pops up to explain the story of the Wendigo, which is the kind of monster in this film, and then goes away again so that Kerry Russell and Jesse Plemons can actually fight it and star in the movie. So that sort of feels mildly offensive to me. And then Kerry Russell's character has a history of abuse as a child, and she talks a lot about how she was abused as a child by her father. And it seems to be to no reason. They're just sort of using quite a big issue that will be quite upsetting to a lot of people.
Yeah.
For sort of set dressing, it feels like. I think they maybe are doing it so that to make you understand why she would be so interested in helping Lucas when she spots maybe signs of abuse with him. But any teacher who's halfway competent is going to be like it. You don't need to give her that backstory, and it doesn't add up to anything. And it just felt sort of unnecessary. And then every other character just been in a bad mood for the whole time. Just so that was kind of a big one. Been coming for ages. It had some good, decent reviews and stuff, and there are people out there that like it, but it was a big whiff for me. Not a fan.
Do you feel sometimes there is a connotation with a film that is not that good, but it's being executively produced by somebody that is fantastic? So, like, that is great. So, a lot of times that there's a film and say, oh, produced by, and that's like the biggest thing about the film. Most of the time, the film is quite disappointing. Or recommended by, or, you know, watched by. And it's really...
Well, one of the most famous ones is, I think, Hostel, the original Hostel.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. It's like, what was it? Recommended
it was presented by Quentin Tarantino.
By, so everybody was excited.
Because he hadn't... I don't think he'd had any part in the production of it, but he'd seen it after it had been made and really liked it, so kind of helped to sell it. But I mean, I don't mind the original Hostel film, but it's like people going to see it on the basis that Quentin Tarantino's name was on it would have been pretty disappointed because it's not a Quentin Tarantino film.
No. Yeah,
it's an Eli Roth film, which is a whole different beast.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then I the same day that I saw Antlers, I saw a film that you've seen as well called Last Night in Soho. Mm-hmm. The latest Edgar Wright movie stars Thomasin McKenzie, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Matt Smith.
Yeah, my second trip to the cinema this year.
Yeah, what was your first?
My first was Dune.
Dune, exciting.
Yes.
We'll be talking about that in a lot of detail in another episode.
Yeah, so we're going to go...
but for now, let's have a briefer chat about Last Night in Soho. The brief setup of the film is that Thomasin McKenzie plays a character called what's her character's name? Eloise or Ellie. Yeah, Ellie Turner, who is obsessed with 1960s London. And is an aspiring fashion designer. Film opens with her going off to London to go to fashion school, and you kind of very quickly realise that she's quite innocent and quite maybe not prepared for life out in the big world, away from sort of the smaller village that she seems to live in. And moves into student halls quite quickly, decides she isn't keen on it, so finds a flat, very conveniently and quickly and unrealistically finds a flat that she can afford in the middle of Soho. Yeah. And which is run by a landlady, played by, in her final on-screen role, I think, Diana Rigg.
Did she pass away?
Diana Rigg died, quite a while ago, actually, since the movie was filmed before it came out. So Diana Rigg plays the landlady of this apartment that she gets, and she spends a night in this apartment. And the movie sets up at the start that Ellie's got maybe some kind of odd psychic connection with her dead mum and might be kind of open to experiencing things. And she very quickly finds herself in her sleep experiencing 1960s London through the eyes of Sandy, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who is an aspiring singer and quickly gets herself involved with Matt Smith's Jack, who promises her the world. That's the setup. It all goes quite dark from there and turns into a sort of psychological thriller. And what did you make of it?
What did you make of it first?
Well, I was quite nervous before I went to see it because I love Edgar Wright.
Yeah, me too.
Movies. And I was excited when he first announced it because it was announced as having Anya Taylor-Joy in it, who I really liked. And then when I realised, once I started seeing movies with Thomasin McKenzie in and realised how good she was, I was pretty keen.
Absolutely.
And he was talking about how it was inspired by psychological thrillers such as Don't Look Now and Roman Polanski's film, I think it's called Repulsion. I haven't seen it, so I'm not certain, but like films of that nature. And then when it started to first get shown about a month or so ago at various film festivals and things, reviews started to come out that were fairly mixed. It was getting a lot of 3 stars around the place and a lot of sort of like quite muted reception to it. And then a few quite good reviews and then, some really negative reviews coming out. So it definitely seemed like it was splitting people. So I was quite nervous before I went to see it, and I watched Antlers first, which I hated, and I was like, oh, if I hate this as well, this is going to be a rubbish evening. But there's a sequence about 20 minutes in where she first goes through this 1960s London, and you see sort of Anya Taylor-Joy for the first time. Yeah. And it was at some point in that was like, I am loving every moment of this, and it very much is what I like in a psychological thriller and stuff, and I really like the actors in it, and I really loved it. Towards the end, as it wraps itself up, it sort of rushes through quite a lot of stuff quite quickly in the final act, which probably will be like on subsequent rewatches. I can imagine myself getting a bit bored and fidgety during the final act because it doesn't quite give you the answers in a way that's as sort of good as you'd hope. But overall, I personally really loved it, and was a big fan.
Yeah. I agree totally with the end, with the last act where it was just like rushing through something, and I was really excited to go and watch it. You know, I really enjoy Anya Taylor-Joy and Thomasin McKenzie. I feel, I like you said, I think the moment where you see London and you see, and you know, there's the kind of parallel thing is incredible, and you this film really sucks you in. But at one point, towards when you realize what's happening to the character of Anya Taylor-Joy, my thought was like, to be able to finish this film in a way that's satisfying is going to be so difficult. But the more it went on, the more I was like, it's just not really it didn't really, for me, it's like the beginning is great, but I feel like the ending is not, and I think it kind of tainted a little bit the beginning as well. And you know, there are so many elements that he could have left out. For example, the nemesis in the university, I think that's not a necessity.
I loved that character. I loved that bit. I want that to be in the film. Because it really reminded me of my days at university. Like I was exactly the kind of thing that I experienced when I went to uni for the first time, and it kind of was one of the things that sold me on the movie.
Okay, because
which is interesting, because that's part of why I love it so much.
Okay, because I was like, because I didn't go into halls, so I don't know how they were, but I feel well, that's just my opinion. How like he could have worked a little bit harder. He could have made the ending a bit better without having these elements that didn't, for me, make sense. Like, why go in halls and then find an apartment? And, you know, I was thinking deposit, rent, you know, all those things that it's just like...
No, I know, but sort
money.
I don't know. You have to kind of poetic suspension of disbelief a little bit with some of those things.
But I let it go.
But like, it reminded me a lot of my journey of going into halls and absolutely hating it and leaving, not finding a flat because I was still, but like running back home and stuff. And I don't know, I really connected with the character, like Thomasin McKenzie's character.
Yeah.
I think in a way that made me forgive a lot of any other flaws in the film, because I just really, really sort of connected with that world.
But then there's the character that Harry Clavel plays in the past and Terence Stump plays in the present. I felt like that wasn't really... It didn't really matter. I'm thinking about it in hindsight, in the sense of after watching the film.
But I think he's trying to do a red herring, isn't he?
Yeah, but... absolutely. But after watching the film, Harry Clavel was such a small part that I completely forgotten about that guy. And then it was like...
Why do you keep saying Henry Cavill? Henry Cavill's not in it.
Is it not Harry Cavill? It is.
No, it's not. It's Sam Claflin.
Oh, sorry. They look the same. Sam Claflin. And it's not Harry Cavill. It's Sam... Oh, my God. Yeah, no. But, you know, two white British actors, you know... that look very similar.
They play brothers in that Enola Holmes film.
Exactly. So I think that's why I thought they were the same. Oh my goodness. And so I'm just talking about it in the fact that I was so disappointed in the ending and how things were concluded, that ended, that I feel, I don't know, looking at it, I could have cut some bits and made the ending a little bit more not believable, bit more... unfortunately, I didn't care at the end. I didn't I wasn't interested anymore. And it's a shame because it started so well and the performances are all great. You told me about, you know, I wasn't really sure about Matt Smith and I think he's great in it. I think all the performances are great. Everybody turns up for this film, so it's, you know, pretty exciting. But it just for me, it was so rushed at the end that it's just like, I'll watch it again. It wasn't a terrible film, but No,
I mean, I'll definitely watch it again. I think the ending is shot in a way that's... I think it's shot... Because Edgar Wright is amazing. Like, he's an incredible sort of constructor of scenes and stuff. And I think the ending is exciting. But the thing that kind of lets it down for me is just... I wish that he made a stronger statement about... I don't want to spoil the film, but like... The way the film wraps up and when you kind of the revelations about who is who and what is happening, I wish that more forgiveness was given to a certain character and more judgment was held to other characters. Yeah. And Edgar Wright had made a more sort of angry film in a way that made a clearer statement. That's the one thing that I would sort of criticize it for.
What didn't make sense towards the end is what the character Miss Collins, Diana, played by Diana Rigg, does to Ellie. I just don't understand why she did what she did. Because at the end of the day, Ellie didn't know, and I don't understand why she would try to do what she does. And I was like, well, that makes no sense. Because Ellie didn't know, and also then at the end nothing happens to Ellie, which should happen because she has done that thing, and I was like, why is she okay? And so that for me was I was so disappointed in that moment, because in reality it should have been a moment of kind of like, you know, the story, you find out the story, all of this, and it just didn't make sense for me, and it was. And it's a shame because I wanted to love this film more. It's going to come out on streaming, so I'm going to watch it again. Maybe if I watch it again, maybe I'll pick up some other things. But I just wasn't convinced by the ending.
Yeah, but a film's about more than the ending, I think.
Oh, no, absolutely. You know. But the fact that I was conscious in the middle of the film, when it kept like going from, you know, when Ellie kept going to sleep, I was like, this has to go a really clever way to be a great film. And unfortunately, it didn't. And it's a shame because Edgar Wright is amazing and he's done incredible films. And one of our both favorite films, which is like Scott Pilgrim and stuff. So, you know, you would expect something really clever. And it just wasn't, and it's such a shame because the first part is so great.
Yeah, but I like it more than Baby Driver for sure.
I've never watched Baby Driver actually.
It's okay. So that's Last Night in Soho. 5 stars from me. Go and watch it.
Yeah. I would definitely recommend watching it. I think you should watch it because it's really well done. It's just not. You know,
it's a fun B-movie thriller, which is absolutely my wheelhouse, but it's not an all-time classic.
No,
unfortunately.
Oh, good. I like it.
Then I watched a film that's not out properly until I don't think next year in the UK, but I got to go and see sort of a preview screening of it at the local art cinema in Manchester, because I really wanted to see this movie because it was directed by Julia Ducournau, or I probably butchered that name, sorry, Julia Ducournau, who has previously directed one of my favourite films of all time, the film Raw, which I've spoken to you about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Her second film is called Titane, or Titane.
Titane.
Titane. It's a body horror film.
Ugh.
It stars an actress who I don't think I've seen anything before called Agatha Roussel as a character called Alexia, who the film opens with us seeing her experience quite a horrific injury that involves having a titanium plate inserted in her skull as a child. And then it cuts very quickly to her as an adult. and she is basically an erotic dancer at car shows. She sort of dances erotically on top of cars, that sort of job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like in a bikini.
And yeah, in a bikini or in even less than that at certain moments, I think. So it follows her, and it's very much a film of two halves. The first half is sort of her spiraling down. That culminates in her having a romantic encounter with a Cadillac, and then she discovers
with
that
what?
she
What does she use?
What?
What does she use?
Well, there's a scene where the Cadillac is sort of bouncing up and down quite rhythmically, and she's sat in the back seat, and there are seatbelts involved. It's a whole mood. But that happens.
Okay.
And then she discovers fairly quickly that she is pregnant, and runs away from home. And I won't spoil what the second half of the movie is, but you wouldn't be able to predict what would happen next. But it's pretty bonkers. It's really, really a film of two halves, where the first half, or the first 40 minutes or so, first half hour maybe, are really amazing and visceral and kinetic and strange and just incredible. And then the second half slows all the way down to first gear and really, really takes its time with exploring sort of gender and masculinity and a lot of quite big ideas, and it turns into a bit of a drama. And it's quite jarring to go from quite incredible sort of thriller, horror, body horror stuff into something that's still got those elements in it, but is sort of spread out to the point where it's much more like a kind of just traditional drama at points. So it's an odd one, and I think I'm gonna have to watch it a couple of times. On my first watch, I was by the end a bit sort of in the middle on it. I think I gave it 3.5 stars on Letterboxd, but I think I like it more having reflected on it over the past few weeks since I saw it. And I think when I watch it again for a second time, I'll probably appreciate the second half, knowing that it's coming and having it be less of a sort of jarring change in tone. There's an actor in the second half called Vincent Lindon, who plays a character called Vincent, who's a sort of fire chief, who is incredible in the film. And just, really, really good. And it's a really odd one. And if you're interested in strange, interesting cinema, I'd recommend checking out Titane, and I want to watch it again.
Is she pregnant with the Cadillac's child?
You'll have to see the film to find out. Oh my goodness! If that's true.
Can I watch? Do you think I can watch the film?
Probably.
I'm quite fascinated by it. Like, it sounds weird.
It is weird, but it's got a handful of scenes that are quite gory, but overall, I think you could watch it. I think you could watch it, definitely. So that's that was Titane. Then I watched I'll talk about these last handful very, very quickly. I watched a film called Deep Red, which is a classic Italian giallo from Dario Argento, often known as his kind of best giallo film. I think it came out in 1975. It's in Italian, it will be pronounced Profondo Rosso. Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Profondo Rosso. And was known for years only as Profondo Rosso because it didn't have an English release, which is why I think I'd never really heard of it much in the UK. And a lot of this is true of a lot of those Italian horror movies where they didn't really see a proper release in the UK, so have only really found an audience in the past sort of 10, 20 years as they've been remastered and re-released by places like Arrow Video. It's your standard Dario Argento giallo movie. There's a murder. Someone who shouldn't really have the job of finding out who did the murder decides to take on board the job of the murder investigation. In this case, it's a musician, a jazz musician, who decides that he's the right person for the job. And various other people get killed off in various other imaginative ways. There's a figure in a raincoat with black gloves on that does a lot of the murdering. The revelations as to who the murderer is at the end are interesting and twisty. There's a psychic at the start for no real reason other than to have a psychic, and that's pretty mad. And overall, it's a 5-star film, largely because the score was done by Goblin, who went on to do the scores for Dawn of the Dead and Suspiria as well, and this is the best of their scores I've heard. It's absolutely incredible, and every single moment when the music starts is just joyful. So if you haven't seen Deep Red, find it and check it out. It's incredible. Then I went to see the latest Marvel movie, Eternals, which you are going to be seeing, right?
Yeah, Monday.
So I won't talk to you too much about that, but it's had a lot of sniffy reviews. It's I think the only Marvel movie now to have under 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, and lots of people have accused it of being dull and boring and all over the place and unconvincing. I absolutely loved it and gave it 5 stars, and just thought Chloe Zhao made something new and different and incredible, and I adore it, and I'll be interested to hear what you think of it.
Yeah.
Because you really like Chloe Zhao's last film that you saw. I don't know. I feel like maybe you'll see it the same way I do. I hope you do, but we'll have to see. It's got like a kind of really it's got a very, I think in the comics the Eternals are all sort of white characters, and in the film it's a really mixed multi-ethnicity cast. You've got Gemma Chan's in there, and I don't remember his name, but my favourite character from Train to Busan plays a character called Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
And it's I really liked it, so I'll be interested to find out what you think of it. The same day I saw Eternals, I went to see Spencer, the Kristen Stewart Princess Diana movie, which is notable for today because it has a score by Johnny Greenwood, and the score's very, very good. And Kristen Stewart's performances, I don't personally have many positive things to say about the royal family or much interest in following the lives of the royal family, but Kristen Stewart's performance as Princess Diana is incredible and will be nominated for an Oscar, and she probably deserves to win an Oscar for it. She's so good in this film, and the director Pablo Larraín has kind of, I think, quite intentionally used The Shining as inspiration. The movie is set over Diana's final Christmas weekend at Sandringham Castle, or Sandringham Estate, and he shoots Sandringham in a way to evoke the feeling of the Overlook. The sky is permanently grey. When Diana arrives at the start of the film in her car, it's this overhead shot that feels very evocative of The Shining. There's lots of kind of cold, empty corridors. It very much, I think, intentionally feels like The Shining, and is done to kind of demonstrate her isolation and her increasing madness under the kind of scrutiny of the royal family.
Yeah.
And I really, really liked it, more than I thought I would. So I'd recommend Spencer to anyone. And that's all the films. That's all of the films. I've got 3 albums quickly to recommend, and then we can get into you. Sorry. So Self-Esteem, who's an indie pop act, has released an album called Prioritise Pleasure, which is incredible and worth listening to. Biffy Clyro's latest album, The Myth of the Happily Ever After, is one of their best in a while, and it is amazing, and you should listen to it. And The War on Drugs, who have produced the recent Killers albums, have released a new album called I Don't Live Here Anymore, which is that sort of perfect Americana rock driving music, and is also incredible. So 3 of the best albums of the year released recently, so listen to all 3 of them.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that's me done. Sorry.
Did I see on your Facebook that you went to watch Black Midi?
Yes, I saw them live.
How was it?
It was brilliant, really, really good. They are crazy live.
Yeah, I can imagine. Oh, they're crazy, not live. How crazy are they?
Well, they played. I think just about half of the set list was songs that haven't been released on any albums yet.
Wow.
So it was very much like trying to keep up with sort of stuff that you'd never heard before, but it was all really good stuff. And then when they played sort of songs like John L., the crowd went absolutely bananas. It was great. It was really, really fun. I'd recommend catching Black Midi if you get a chance. Yeah, definitely.
Good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
How many drinking devices have you got? That's a different one again.
Well, my big one that makes the whistling sound
Yeah.
when I drink
Yeah.
perished this week.
Oh no!
So I had to get a new bottle. Yeah, I was very
What
sad
happened to it?
and upset. I put it in my rucksack, and when I was getting into my car, my rucksack fell on the floor.
Yeah.
And later, when I unpacked my rucksack, everything was very wet, and the bottom of the bottle had sheared off completely.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, it was
Wow.
upsetting. But this one's metal, so that won't be happening.
No,
Good
no,
sturdy
my metal one.
bottle from the good people at Hydro Flask.
Nice. Well, my metal one, I'm really annoyed because as soon as I got it, I dropped it, and I've got a big dent, and it really upset me because I'm very strange, and I like things not to have dents.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
but I love my metal bottle, but it's just got a dent. Never mind. Hydro Flask.
Hydro Flask. It's got a wide mouth.
What does that mean?
Well, I bought it because it has a wide mouth, and it was like, oh, perfect for drinking out of, wide mouth. But actually, it's sort of just a normal flask.
Ah, it's like mine. Mine has got a wide mouth then. Look.
Lovely wide mouth.
Lovely. Lovely. Cool. Excellent. G, fantastic. A culture catch-up. Enjoyed every minute of it.
Good.
I
What
really
did
would
you
like to
have
watch
to do to say?
Titane. That would be pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, you should definitely check out Titane.
As long as there's not too much gore and stuff, I can watch it.
Titane.
So, yeah, so I went to the cinema finally and I watched 2 films. I watched Dune, like we said before, and we're going to talk about it in more detail soon. And then I watched Last Night in Soho. I also watched a film on Netflix. It's November, so it's, of course, nearly Christmas time, according to many people. And the reason I watched it is just I haven't really enjoyed a Christmas movie for a while because they don't do Christmas movies anymore that are good, do they?
Yeah, they tend to just make rubbish Netflix ones.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, and I didn't want to watch it, but I watched it because I thought maybe this is going to be the one, you know? Maybe it's going to be even though the premise is really not great. I don't know what I was expecting, but I thought, there was Nina Dobrev. Is a film with Nina Dobrev and Jimmy O Yang. I really like Jimmy O Yang. He's a really funny comedian. So I thought maybe this is going to be a fun Christmas movie, but unfortunately it's a romantic Christmas movie. And that is a big issue that I have now with Christmas movies. They're all about romance,
Yeah, all of them.
And why? Christmas is the least romantic holiday, especially if you're a couple. Which family do you go to? What present to buy? It's stressful. Like, the only thing I want to do at Christmas is be in my pajamas and sleep. I don't understand why Christmas has become romance. But yeah, so and the film is called Love Hard. The basic setup is this girl in LA, and she is very unlucky in love, but this unluck in love has made her quite good at writing these articles on this kind of BuzzFeed kind of platform. And she finds this guy on the East Coast on this dating app, and they start chatting, and they chat, and it's quite lovely, and they're perfect for each other. And she decides to surprise him for the holidays. So she has no family, and so she decides to fly to East Coast and surprise him for the holidays, which is already mental. Like, somebody that you've never met, you've never you decide to, and you never had like a FaceTime with, you decide to fly to the East Coast to spend the holidays with him, which
she's unhinged.
Is insane, like, without even asking. And then as soon as she gets to his house, she discovers that she's been kind of catfished, because the person she was talking to was the person that she liked. However, the photo did not match the actual person. And she's livid. Blah 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 blah. She's very angry, and then she finds out that the actual guy that is in the picture is one of his friends in the same city. So the deal is that she needs to this guy that catfished her is going to set her up with his friend, but in the meantime, she has to pretend to his family that they're together. So it's all very weird because it's gonna get discovered, and it's just blah. Like it's okay. Like it's I don't know. It's an hour and a half of Christmas, but it's really strange, and I just don't get how. Because also there's a thing that he catfished her, but she kind of catfished the other guy. It's just terrible, and there's the scene where she writes something on a cardboard box, and like in Love Actually, in the scene in Love Actually, like I've never seen Love Actually. I've refused to watch that film, and I know that scene, which is
right.
It's used and reused in every, like, so much. And it's a shame because, you want to watch a good Christmas film, but unfortunately, it isn't.
No.
Did you see there's a new Home Alone film?
Yeah, it's not had good reviews.
Oh, see, that's another Christmas film that's not going to be good. Why can't we not just do a good Christmas film? No?
Yeah, but it might be good. I think The Guardian gave it 3 stars.
Yeah.
But like a lot of other places are giving it 1 star, and I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, well, let's hope. But yeah, so if you want to watch a Christmas film that will disappoint you, watch Love Hard. It's not great. Jimmy O Young is good though. I really like him. He's a really good comedian, and so and Nina Dobrev is good. Like the performances are not bad. They're okay.
Yeah.
It's just a pretty silly film. And then we've had a lot of time off, so I watched 6 seasons of an entire series. When I realized I watched 62 episodes, I was like, Alex, you are ill. But yeah, I watched 2013 series Girls.
Oh, the Lena Dunham show.
Written, directed, created by Lena Dunham. Weird. I've never watched it because I think there was a lot of kind of criticism. Although it was an acclaimed series, there was a lot of criticism, and people talked badly about it, and people don't like. Personally, they don't like Lena Dunham. I don't know why. She seems like a girl with a lot of opinions. I don't understand why people don't like her. And it's a comedy about comedy drama about the experience of a group of girls and their kind of male counterparts in New York in their 20s. And the main characters are Lena Dunham, Hannah Horvath, who's a writer, and then Marnie Michaels, played by Alison Williams, which then we see in Get Out, and she works in an art gallery, but she then becomes an aspiring singer. Jemima Kirk, Jessa Jonathan, played by Jemima Kirk, which we see in Sex Education, the principal in Sex Education. Adam Sackler, played by Adam Driver, who we see everywhere. Shoshana Shapiro, played by Zozia Mamet, which I don't know where I've seen in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, but in not much. Elijah Krantz, played by Andrew Rannells, which we can see in loads of other things. So it was what I liked about this is just this series kind of opened the door to many actors which is fantastic because Adam Driver, while he was playing Adam in Girls, he also was playing Kylo Ren in Star Wars, and then also Alison Williams was playing that person in Get Out. But yeah, what's her name?
I don't remember her character's name in Get Out.
No, me neither. Rose Armitage.
Sure.
But yeah, I really like this series. I thought it was great. It's the reason I watched this because for some reason YouTube has just been giving me loads of like clips, and so I watched loads of clips, and I was like, why don't I just watch it? Because it was such a kind of popular and a very critically acclaimed series. I was like, watch it, and I got hooked badly. I was watching 5-6 episodes a night, and I thought it was great because I feel like Lena Dunham is a really good writer, and I feel like this series is kind of like original and quite accurate about people after university. I feel you go to university and then you set out into the world and you're supposed to be a writer, a lawyer, or whatever, and then you're not, because you're not. You just have to like kind of navigate through life. And I think it's really interesting because it's quite realistic how you have this certain group of friends at some point in your life, and then you maybe grow apart from them, or maybe you kind of reunite with them, and you have these boyfriends that maybe you're on and off with them. And it's good because not all characters have this throughout the 6 seasons. 6 seasons, not all the characters have the same relationship as the first season, and some characters kind of disappear and some kind of characters come back. And I think that was a really interesting, it's a really fun series, and I absolutely fell in love with Adam Driver. I need to watch more stuff with him. He's great in this, and I think he's my favorite character. Although he's weird in this, I feel that he's great. And I really enjoyed it. So if you haven't watched Girls, I think it's definitely it's not perfect. It's not. There are some things that really are quite annoying, but I feel also it's quite realistic. So I think that's why you find yourself annoyed with a lot of the characters a lot of the times, because I feel sometimes you do find yourself annoyed at your friends or at people that you know. I don't know. I think is good. Have you ever watched it?
No.
Is there a reason why? Because the reason I never watched it is just I had no interest because I kind of felt that it might not. I read more bad reviews than good reviews.
Is there a reason why I've never watched it? How long are the episodes?
Only 25 minutes.
Okay. When did it start? 2013?
2013, yeah.
So it started when we moved to Japan.
Yeah.
So I just didn't really have... I'd have had to go out of my way to watch it, and there was no particular reason why I would... Like, I don't know who Lena Dunham was, because I think that was the first thing she did, and the cast have all gone on to big things, but at the time none of them were well known. So... it just sort of wasn't one of the things I watched. But there's no particular reason. I don't like have a vendetta against Lena Dunham or anything. I know that a lot of people dislike her. I have no strong opinion. I wouldn't go as far as to say that I don't care about her, but I don't have a strong opinion about her either way.
Yeah. But I feel like people have really strong opinions against it, and I don't know why.
Well, people have... It's the same... reason I think that people have strong opinions about Amy Schumer. Yeah, and I feel although there are videos on YouTube trying to highlight how many times she's stolen jokes off of other comedians, and it is quite I don't know if she has stolen jokes off other comedians, but it's pretty intense how often she seems to make jokes that other people have already made.
Maybe. I don't know. I guess.
But maybe you could make videos like that of lots of comedians. I don't really know. But But yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, but I know I knew a lot of negative things, and I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good and amazing, and the fact that this Lena Dunham managed to like write, create, direct. She also directed some of the episodes. I thought it was really great humor. And then I'm just gonna recommend a couple of albums. So, if any of our listeners are on TikTok, they'll know that a lot of TikToks use like some music, and there's and I love TikTok personally, not just for the dances, but just for lots of other things. But there is this artist that is always on TikTok, and I heard most of this album on TikTok, and she's called Doja Cat. You probably know her. Yeah, and the new album is called Planet Her, and I decided to listen to it because after kind of like I spent a few weeks just listening to Radiohead, I was like, I need to listen to something a little bit different.
Yeah, fair play.
And having and I like, it's amazing how Doja Cat has been able to. Most of the songs in his album are on TikTok, most of them, and it's great, but they don't. TikTok doesn't give these songs justice, because I listened to the album a few times, and it's a great album, Planet Her, and is really, really good, and she's really skilled and talented, and sometimes maybe being so popular in TikTok maybe won't give her the credit that she deserves, but it's a great album. It's amazing how like TikTok has she's just this kind of like entity on TikTok that is an artist, but people use her songs to make videos. Interesting. But great album, Planet Her by Doja Cat. And then another album recommendation is an album by Joy Crookes called Skin. And she is a London-born artist, and this is her first studio album, and it's amazing. You shouldn't really compare her to Amy Winehouse, but she does make you feel like you are listening to. She reminds me of Amy Winehouse. She's got an amazing voice, and she's a really incredible storyteller. And also, she's got this really incredible, jazzy, beautiful voice. And it's an incredible album, and I really, really enjoyed listening to it. And I would definitely recommend this album because she's amazing, and I really loved it. So, J. Crookes, Skin. Very good album. Yes. And that's it.
Sit down at the back and be quiet and get out your book, because it's time to discuss your homework. Now.
Homework
time.
Homework time. So, you asked me to watch a Takashi Miike film.
Ah, yes, I did.
Had you forgotten what my homework was?
Yeah.
It's been a long time. Because I've seen all of the Wes Anderson movies we discussed, instead I watched a film that you watched last time and discussed in Culture Catch Up.
Yeah.
First Love, a Takashi Miike movie. Takashi Miike being just about the most prolific filmmaker in the world. He's made just an insanely huge amount of movies. The two of his I've seen prior to this one would be Audition, which is a modern classic and is very well regarded, and a movie called Ichi the Killer, which is a very violent, strange film that disturbed me when I was a teenager. And now we have this, which is a crime film. It's pretty much, it's pretty straight down the middle, a crime film, right?
Yeah.
It follows a variety of characters. who all get mixed up in an attempt by a member of the Accuser to basically rip off his own gang and steal some drugs, some bags of drugs.
Yeah.
Kind of pulled unwittingly into this caper. It's a caper. That's what it is a caper.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
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 It's a caper. Pulled into this caper are a boxer called Leo, played by Masataka Kubota, who discovers early on that he is very seriously ill, and this has affected his mood quite drastically. Ends up finding something to fight for in the protection of Yori, played by Sakurako Kanishi. I believe that's the character. Yori, who is a prostitute who has been who's become addicted to drugs and is basically imprisoned by the Yakuza gang, and treated pretty badly generally. She ends up getting dragged into this plot to steal these drugs from Kase, who's imprisoning her. She manages to escape with the assistance of Leo, and then the rest of the film is sort of those two on the run. It all takes place over the same night. It's those two on the run through Tokyo, attempting to escape the various people that are on the hunt for them, including probably the best character in the movie, Julie, played by Becky, who you discussed last time.
She's the best, isn't she?
Yeah, she's very good in this. This sort of furious whirlwind of revenge, because within the machinations of the plot, someone kills her boyfriend, someone also attempts to kill her, she survives, and then she finds a crowbar and goes absolutely nuts with it, which is pretty entertaining. You've got heads are being cut off all over the place, people are being shot, there's a police car chase with thousands of police cars involved, all sorts of stuff going on. And it's sort of kind of similar to Last Night in Soho. It doesn't have like a bad ending in it or anything like that, but like it's not gonna go down in the annals of movies as like a classic film, but it's a very entertaining way to spend a couple of hours.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. It's a really it's a fun, entertaining movie. It feels at times like a Steven Soderbergh film, like who made Ocean's 11 and stuff. It kind of feels like one of his crime films at times, like very like small stakes almost, but people taking things very seriously and things kind of spiraling. It's got that sense of things just spiraling completely out of control as more and more people get dragged into this plot that starts off very simple and gets more and more complicated. There's a very good bit early on where somebody tries to sneak up on somebody as they're opening a door and they get stuck on the door handle and accidentally reveal themselves. And from that's the moment, I think, that's the single moment where it all starts to go wrong. And yeah, no, I enjoyed it. So it's a good movie. I'm glad you asked me to watch it. And I'd recommend people go and find it and check it out.
Yeah. It's on Amazon Prime, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I watched it on Now TV in the UK, but I think you can find it on Amazon as well.
Okay.
And and there's a bit, actually, you'll know when you've seen it, but there's a bit near the end that reminded me a lot of The French Dispatch, which is interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. Where I think they save on budget a bit by alternating the style of the film for a moment.
Yeah, like when I said, it's like, it's kind of unbelievable, but you understand why they did it because they couldn't afford all the stunts.
Yeah, there's an alarmingly similar moment in The French Dispatch.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. You'll see.
Great.
So yeah, good news all around with First Love. Thank you for suggesting it. I don't think I'd ever have watched it if you hadn't told me to. So
I'm glad you watched
cheers.
it. I think yeah. Let's spread it to the world. Watch First Love. It's a fun, crazy film.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen Takashi Miike's other movies, don't watch all of them because there's too many for any one person to watch. But definitely check out Audition, and he's got a fair few other absolute smashes under his belt as well. But
Start a collective.
I want to know what you think of Rushmore.
Oh, Rushmore. Okay, so Rushmore, the only Wes Anderson film I've never watched, and is his second film,
Yep.
from 1998, with a great cast. Jason Schwartzman, that plays the lead, Max Fisher. And then there's Bill Murray, Olivia Williams, which hasn't, she hasn't been back in one of his films.
I know, and she's fantastic.
She's really good in this as Rosemary Cross, as the love interest. And then Bert Ximo Cassell, which we see in a few of his films as the dad, as Max Fisher's dad.
Yeah.
And Dr. Nelson Guggenheim as the principal of the school. And fairly unknown an actor to me, Mason Gamble, who plays Dirk Calloway, who is Max Fisher's best friend. I loved him. It's one of my favorite characters. There's also there's a few there's also Andrew Wilson, who is and Luke Wilson, who are in other films.
Oh, the scene with Luke Wilson is very good.
Yeah,
where they go for dinner.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a film about the protagonist Max Fisher, who is a 15-year-old, and the film starts in an incredible way where he can solve the most difficult what is it
it's like a maths
problem. Yeah, maths problem. And then we figure out that it's not really it's not really exactly like that, his life.
No.
And he's incredible. He's got all these extracurricular activities. He's in the drama club, the debate club, and this, and he's the director of the play. And but academically, he's not great. And if he carries on being like that, he will be suspended from the school. And he, instead of taking that as seriously as he should, he meets Miss Cross, who is the primary school teacher, and he immediately falls in love with her. It's just so cute. And then, but then he bonds with Herman Bloom, played by Bill Murray, who has a couple of kids in the school, but he doesn't particularly like him, but he really likes Max. And they form this unusual friendship, but also they become friends, but also love rivals, because he falls in love with Miss Cross as well. And it's basically the story of Max, and yeah, that's it. I love this film.
Yeah.
I absolutely love this film. It's funny. It's got Jason Schwartzman all throughout, and I love Jason Schwartzman. I love him in Wes Anderson. And Bill Murray at his best and at his worst, and I think is great. I love the fact that it's just the beginnings of his journey as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And you just see elements that you will see in others, but it's just the beginning. It's just a raw bit, and I thought it was really nice. And you think that you would really not like a character like Max Fisher, but you really, really like him, and you really care for him, and the relationship that he has with his dad is really lovely. His dad is a barber, and he doesn't want his son to be a barber, but then his son gets expelled from school, and then he said, well, I'm going to be a barber. And his dad goes, I like being a barber. You're not a barber. I'm a barber. And it's just such a lovely interaction. And I just loved this film. I thought it was so good and so surreal as well. There's a scene where Max speaks to the principal, Dr. Guggenheim, and you can hear thunder in the back, but it's not raining. Like, I don't think it's raining. There's no There is no, well, there's no thing that is might be raining or it's gonna rain, but it's just to make the scene dramatic in a ridiculous, silly way. Wes Anderson decides to put some thunder. And it's just like the camera just goes from one character to the other, and then it goes, and I just so funny. It's really, really funny, and I'm so glad I watched it because it's great and maybe not his best, but I think it's the beginning of his best, and I absolutely loved it, and I wish Olivia Williams would have been in more of his films because, or will be hopefully one day, because I think she's really good at kind of portraying the quirkiness of the characters that he wants to show. But I thought it was, great. I'm so glad I watched it. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad you watched it as well. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
It is good. I like how much Bill Murray's character dislikes his own children in that film. That's one of my favourite
funny.
jokes.
And his children are the worst, aren't they?
They're
really, really bad. And the fact that he puts just a random Scottish boy in the film.
Yeah.
What's this Scottish boy doing here? It made no sense, but it makes so much sense.
Good stuff. Good stuff for
all
homework.
around. Yeah.
How's about some top
Radio.
5?
Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Our top 5.
So we're going to count down our top 5 favourite Radiohead songs.
Yeah. How exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting.
I have not listened to this much Radiohead since I was a teenager.
I'm excited to hear what you've pulled out then. It's interesting.
Yeah, it was difficult not to have my songs just from my 2 favorite albums. So
right,
I picked one song from each album.
Yeah.
And put it in.
Yeah, I've limited to one song per album as
because I was like, if not everything was going to be, yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. For anyone who doesn't know, Radiohead are an English rock band formed in Oxford, or in Abingdon in Oxfordshire in 1985. We're talking about Tom York, vocals, piano, guitar, keyboards. We're talking about Johnny Greenwood, lead guitar and other instruments. Colin Greenwood, bass. Ed O'Brien, guitar. Philip Selway, drums. And almost unofficial extra members, Nigel Godrich, their longtime producer, and Stanley Donwood, who has produced all of their art since 1994, I think. They're one of the sort of titans of rock. They're probably the leading band or group in sort of experimental rock, pushing the genre forwards, etc. Famously completely redefining their sound on album after album, in particular going from Pablo Honey's early 90s indie through to the Bends getting more artistic, OK Computer being something that nobody had ever heard, throwing everything they'd already done out of the window for Kid A and Amnesiac, where they just redefined what a rock band could even be. Yeah. Bringing those disparate elements together for better albums like Hail to the Thief and In Rainbows, finding a new way of distributing music within Rainbows, giving it away for free, pretty much the first time a big artist had done anything like that, on the pay what you want scheme, and then continuing to push themselves forward artistically and creatively with our very sort of different albums like The King of Limbs and the most recent one, A Moon-Shaped Pool. They're iconic, they're brilliant, they're a lot of people's favourite band, and we're going to go for our favourite songs. We didn't do albums because I thought with albums there might end up being quite a lot of crossover. Yeah. Like neither of us would have Hail to the Thief or The King of Limbs on our lists, and we'd probably both have OK Computer and Kid A. Like it felt like it would be unnecessary to say that we like those albums the best. So songs. So, which might mean it's a slightly shorter top 5 because there's less individually to say about any one song.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting just to see where we've fallen, what we've moved towards.
Yeah.
Because my long list of songs was just about every track that they've done, so it was tough whittling it down to a top 5.
You want to see my page? This is full. I was like, okay. I thought, to make this easy, I'll just write all the albums and my favorite songs from the albums. Yeah, I didn't make it any easier.
I don't know if you want to do this, but I thought before we start properly, I'd briefly be interested to know what you thought. Just sort of overview of what you thought of the albums that you hadn't really heard before we entered into this project.
So I hadn't really listened to A Moon-Shaped Pool.
Mm-hmm.
And In Rainbows. So the latest 2 albums I really hadn't given.
You're just completely ignoring the King of Limbs there.
Oh, sorry.
It's like the forgotten stepchild of the Radiohead discography.
King of Limbs. I completely missed it. Sorry. Yeah. Because I didn't even write it, because in the King of Limbs I like only one song. There.
That's on Hail to the Thief.
What? I'm really confused. Just a second. Like, I'm so confused. Wait a second. Let me, because I am a Radiohead out. I need to look at the pictures of the albums.
The King of Limbs has got Bloom, Lotus Flower, Morning Mr. Magpie.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Oh my God. Let's start again. Ask me the question.
No.
No.
This is gold.
This is not gold.
This is absolute fried gold.
This is not gold.
This is gold.
So, I hadn't really given any time to In Rainbows, The King of Limbs, and A Moon-Shaped Pool. I guess I was such a fanatic when I was younger that maybe when Hail to the Thief came out and it wasn't my favorite, and I didn't want maybe to get I wanted them to still be my kind of like Radiohead, like the ones I've always loved. And so after Hail to the Thief, I was like, eh. But I was very pleasantly surprised by In Rainbows and A Moon-Shaped Pool. I love those 2 albums. The King of Limbs, maybe not so much.
Yeah, I mean, The King of Limbs was enough of a disappointment that after it came out, the Radiohead fan community were obsessed with the theory that it was only part 1 of like a 2-part release.
Okay.
Which turned out to not be true at all.
Yeah.
And the King of Limbs has some redeeming qualities to it, but it's only like 8 tracks long.
Yeah.
One of those tracks is entirely an instrumental sort of soundscape thing.
Yeah.
And out of the other songs, only one of them is sort of really catchy, Lotus Flower, and the rest of them are all sort of like quite slow and atmospheric. It's okay, but it's an album I never go back to. And because the last track is called, I can't remember what it's called, but the lyrics in it are something like, "You think this is over, but you're wrong." And people really, really grabbed onto that as like this idea that there was going to be a second set of songs like imminently being released. Which, was not true.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, brilliant. So should we get into our top 5?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good. So my number 5 is a track off the album that got me into Radiohead. The first, because my journey with liking Radiohead came from like, I didn't really like music at all. Channel 4, when I was in school, did a top 100 albums of all time TV show, almost definitely hosted by Jimmy Carr, I imagine. And the number 1 album was named OK Computer. Or was it Park Life? No, I think Park Life was number 2. I think OK Computer was number 1 on that list, if I remember rightly. And so when I first started getting into music, I was kind of very quickly like, well, I should listen to OK Computer by Radiohead because that's the best album ever been released of all time. So it was like, I think it was £1 on Amazon or something. So I ordered it and listened to it, and I was like, oh, this is the worst noise of the whole of the world that I've ever heard. What is this bad thing? And I think I listened to it a few times. I didn't really get it, and then just after that, they put out their surprise free album in 2007 in Rainbows.
Mm.
And I kind of was like, oh, yeah.
That late?
Okay. Sorry?
That late?
Yeah, that late. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my God.
I know. So...
like a few years. So you listened to OK Computer like the year In Rainbows came out?
I listened to OK Computer probably a year or two earlier,
Wow,
and then it
okay.
just sat on my shelf, and I didn't really give them much more of a chance. And then when In Rainbows came out and it was free and everyone was getting all excited about it, I was like, well, it's free, so this was before Spotify, when if a song came out you could just listen to it. I was like, free music isn't anything to be sniffed at. That's free. So I sort of downloaded it and listened to it and fell in love with it immediately, and went back and listened to OK Computer again and was like, this isn't the same. This can't be the same album. This must be different. This is somehow a different thing. And then my obsession and love with the band properly started. So yeah, I did come on board quite late, but I do love them. So yeah, so In Rainbows, it's an incredible album. It's full of really good songs. In particular, like 15 Step, which I remember when I heard that for the first time, I was like, there's nothing has ever been like this before. This is incredible. Jigsaw Falling Into Place is a song that has a music video partly directed by Adam Buxton, who I adore Adam Buxton. I saw Adam Buxton live actually a couple of days ago. I didn't mention.
How was it?
It was great. It was incredible. It was brilliant. He was doing like a book tour thing, and it was really good. Yeah, but the one I've picked out is kind of the rockiest track on In Rainbows. It's track 2, and it's Body Snatchers. Body Snatchers is my number 5 because it's just such an incredible jam. It's got this great guitar riff going on in it, and it just feels like a rock song. And Radiohead so often feel scared to just do a rock song, that when they do pull one out, you can kind of like, it's like, oh, I wish they'd do this more often because they're so good at it. Like Johnny Greenwood can just create songs in a way that nobody else can. It's great. It's fantastic, and it's got these, fantastic classic Tom York lyrics. I do not understand what it is I've done wrong. Full of holes, check for pulse, blink your eyes, 1 for yes, 2 for no. Like his kind of poetry, he's got this odd sort of quite aggressive style where often it feels like he's having a go at the listener, which I really enjoy. And a lot of that comes through when, and like sometimes you look at the lyrics to Radiohead and you don't realise that what sounds like such a beautiful noise when he's singing it is just quite unpleasant lyric. Like one of the lines in this song goes, I have no idea what you're talking about. Your mouth moves only with someone's hand up your arse. And it's like when he sings that, it doesn't sound as aggressive. There's something kind of beautiful about it. So yeah, Body Snatchers. Body Snatchers is just a great song. I saw them on the tour for In Rainbows, and they played this, and it was just great. So yeah, Body Snatchers.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
What about you with your number 5?
my journey with Radiohead started when I was 13.
Yeah.
When OK Computer came out. I was just going to a new school, and to the big school, and there were some cooler kids. I was still listening to Backstreet Boys, but there were some cooler kids in my class, and they were like, have you listened to Radiohead? And I was like, what? And I listened to it, and I was like, what is this? And MTV was showing the video of Karma Police on loop, basically. So I know the video off by heart, and I knew the song, and I was like, this is weird. And then, but because I wanted to be with the cool kids, I listened to it loads. And then they were, and I was like, oh, OK Computer's good, as you do when you're a kid. But then this girl, she was like, oh, you should listen to the Bends, and she lent me her CD of the Bends. and I love the bends because it's quite rocky, and I think at that age you kind of like love the kind of like, you can kind of relate a little bit more to the bends. And then she's like, oh, there's another one, and I listened to Pablo Honey. So I was listening to it quite a bit when I was growing up, from my teen years. Yeah, I had all of their CDs until Amnesiac, and then I didn't buy Hail to the Thief. And that's another story. But so weirdly enough, my number 5 is a song from In Rainbows as well.
Nice. Ooh.
Yeah. So my number 5 is the last song in Rainbows, and it kind of makes me really emotional every time I listen to it, and it kind of, I think, ends the album In Rainbows in a beautiful and also tragic way. And the song is called Videotape.
Videotape. It's a great one.
It's a really, really amazing song, and it's this incredible kind of ballad, which for Radiohead is very different. What this band can do is not being scared of trying whatever, and making it successful. And it's a really emotional and sad song, and it's beautiful. It's just a beautiful song, and I really love it. But yeah, that's my number 5, Videotape from In Rainbows. No.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah.
Good choice with that one. My number 4 is one of Radiohead's lost songs.
Oh.
Yeah. It's one of the songs that they originally recorded during the sessions for OK Computer. And they were going for a time as a band at that point where they wanted to avoid another creep, essentially.
Yeah.
Because they'd kind of felt like that was a big kind of what's that bird that people don't want to have around their neck? Albatross. It was a bit of an albatross around their neck. Because people just wanted to hear creep, etc. So they kind of wanted to kind of pivot away from being a band with big hooky singles like that. And they didn't put this song on OK Computer because they didn't want it to become another creep. Which is a sort of a rare occurrence of a band, and people, the people who don't like Radiohead would roll their eyes all the way out of their skulls at this kind of idea. Is a band sort of not putting out a song because they thought it was too good. But that's what happened with this song. And finally, when they did their big anniversary release of OK Computer called OK Not OK, they released 3 songs from the vaults, and all 3 of them are brilliant. One's called I Promise, one's called Man of War, and then the one I've picked is called Lift. And it's an absolutely gorgeous, beautiful song with, again, lyrics that, like, they managed to make the line, the smell of air conditioning, the fish your belly up, empty all your pockets because it's time to come home, into a soaringly beautiful, gorgeous chorus. And I think that this song would have fit perfectly on OK Computer, but I guess they made their decisions. And they kind of re-released it. They did a new music video for it when it came out in 2017 of Tom York in a lift. And it's kind of great. And it's one that might have passed people by slightly because of the fact that it wasn't on OK Computer and it was lost for all these years. And I think it's one that people should make sure they've checked out and listened to, because it's just such a great tune. Like it like you listen to it and it could be a song, or it sounds like a classic Radiohead song from the OK Computer era. And I think I love it so much now because I've listened to all the songs on OK Computer so many times that some of them have lost their shine a little bit, whereas this song still feels fresh and new, yet has that quality and has that feeling of Radiohead at their absolute peak. So yeah, Lift.
Amazing.
Yeah, but Man of War and I Promise is so good as well. Man of War, it was really tight between Man of War and Lift, but I went for Lift in the end because the chorus is just soars in a way that, yeah, I adore. So there you go. Have you listened to any of those tracks? Or?
No, I haven't actually.
You should check them out.
Okay, so my number four song is from Radiohead's fifth album, Amnesiac.
Yeah.
It's the album released in 2001. Very closely to Kid A. Was very exciting when they both came out, and that's when I was already a big fan. And so, when these came out, I was like, yeah, I was really excited. And they kind of then became one album for me, because they got released one after the other. One in 2000, Kid A in 2000, and Amnesiac in 2001, and I really related to that because I was creating my own political belief, and these albums were kind of a little bit maybe portraying what was happening at the time and what is still happening, but also kind of I could relate to them and their to what they were saying to me. But this is from their 2001 album Amnesiac, and the song is I Might Be Wrong.
Nice choice.
Yeah, I absolutely love this song, and there's a moment where it goes, I might be wrong, let's go down to the waterfall, and there's this big drum at the back. It's like boom 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 boom, and I don't know, it's just an incredible song. And says I could have sworn I saw a light coming on, and it could be like, I thought I saw a light at the end of the tunnel, but maybe there isn't. But then he says, I used to think there was no future at all, but maybe there is a future. So there's kind of like some kind of maybe some hope, maybe. Maybe there isn't any hope. Who knows? But I just love this song, and I love how it's structured. I love his voice in it. I love the drums. It's just a great song in a great album. So yeah, number 4. I might be wrong.
Nice, good pick. And yeah, Amnesiac's one of their absolute. I prefer Amnesiac to Kid A personally.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which is because Kid A came first. It's always called, but like they both were born out of the same sessions, so they're both part of that sort of new era. And I think that they saved the best for the second part, really, in my opinion.
I think you're right. I think Amnesiac is better than Kid A. I think Kid A, you had to give it a lot of time to get your head around it and understand it. I think that's the. But yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, but I might be wrong. Who knows?
I might be wrong. Did you do it on purpose?
Yeah, I did.
Well done, George.
So my number 3 is not from a Radiohead album, but was released in the era of The King of Limbs, but is better than any song on The King of Limbs, and was featured on. They did a live DVD concert thing where they played The King of Limbs in full, and they played this song as well on that DVD, and it's called The Daily Mail.
Oh, yes.
Do you know it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I think you made me listen to it.
Sorry?
think you must have sent me something. I don't know.
I think I might have sent it to you. It sort of starts off as a piano ballad and builds for about the first half of the song, and then the full band kind of rush in and it becomes this kind of rocky, okay, computery song after starting off as this really quiet ballad. And I really love the way that the song progresses. I love songs that build and build and build and then kind of just break and go all cacophonous, and it's exactly what I like. So I really love this song for that. And then the lyrics, I really like the lyrics. It's sort of Tom York at his most annoyed and angry and bitter. The first verse is, the Moonies are up on the mountain, the lunatics have taken over the asylum, waiting on the rapture, singing, we're here to keep your prices down, feed you to the hounds, to the Daily Mail. And it sort of goes on like that. And then the second verse starts, you made a pig's ear, you made a rude mistake. And I just like that I don't know, those lyrics kind of speak to me. I find them really evocative, and the way the song kind of goes into mayhem at the end after starting off so gently is is great. I really like it. And yeah, again, it's another one that might not be that well heard because it's not on any album, probably because it doesn't fit in at all with the rest of the King of Limbs. So it kind of ended up being released as this kind of double A side with a song called I think it's Staircase, which is fine. That song's fine, but the Daily Mail is has been one of my favourite Radiohead songs since I heard it. So there it is in number 2. Boom. In number 3, sorry.
Number 3. I was like, I'm not number 2 yet. Yeah.
So yeah, there you go.
Nice.
Yeah. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is a song in Kid A. Like I had like they're quite for me. Kid A and Amnesiac kind of like go together, and this song is amazing. And because the lyrics don't match the music, but it works perfectly well. And the song is Videotape.
Oh, I love Videotape.
And it's just such an amazing song, and it's so different in a way in Kid A. Kind of sticks out as it doesn't fit in a way, but it fits perfectly. It's a really interesting song, and it's got this techno tempo, and it's really catchy. And then you listen to the lyrics, and the lyrics are really kind of powerful. And Tom York has always been passionate about environment issues. And there's the moment goes, Ice Age coming, throw him in the fire. And then it goes, we're not scaremongering. This is really happening. And it's just like the way he says it is so musical, and you just sing it, and then you go, well, these are pretty incredible lyrics. We're not, this is happening. And it's just an amazing song. And the video is incredible of it. I just remember watching it over and over on MTV. And yeah, I love this song.
Yeah, that's it was definitely the first song that hooked me into Kid A. So I think it was the first song I listened to off Kid A because I saw that it'd been, I think it was the single from that album. Yeah. Or sort of the one they sort of put out. And I remember thinking, this is great. I really like this. Ice Age coming, Ice Age coming. Yeah.
Women and children first, the children first, the children us. Sorry.
Sing until my head comes up. So, good pick for number 3 there. A banger from Kid A. My number 2 then is I think the earliest song I have from Radiohead on this list, and it's a track from The Bends, one of their absolute best albums, and it is the closing track on The Bends, Street Spirit Fade Out. Is my number 2. Have you picked it as well?
Yeah, my number 2
is wow.
Street Spirit Fade Out from The Bends.
That's interesting.
That's
so
amazing.
We both picked it.
How can you not pick it?
What?
How can you not pick this song?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so good. According to Genius.com, it's a song about the futility of life, the pointlessness of existence, and the certainty of death. So a really fun time to be had. It's just it starts off. I love it because it starts off really good, and then there's a point where it kicks into gear, and it somehow is better than it started, which you wouldn't expect. It's just so good. And also, if for a good time, look up on YouTube the Darkness's cover of this song, which is bizarre.
I will. Yeah.
But sort of works in an odd way. But yeah, it's hard to really say much about it for me because it's just a really good song. It's just a beautiful, wonderful song. It's mad that the entirety of The Bends is filled with amazing songs, and then somehow they save the best to last. Like you don't expect to be hit this hard at the end of an album, but it's so good.
Yeah. And just how it starts is like da 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 da, and then it starts, and then our roses are bearing down on me. Like, no, it's just an incredible song, and I don't know, it's just like fade out again, fade out, and then it starts like already this much. Oh, just so beautiful. It's such an amazing song. And yeah, and very depressing.
Yeah. But that's what you want from Radiohead.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
I'm interested to know your first one there, number one.
Well, my first one, I'll go to my number one then that's your number two. So I'll go to my number one, then you can go to your number one. So my number one is, as I said, I think Amnesiac is better than Kid A. So it's my favourite tune off Amnesiac, and it's just this huge... I love it because it's more than any other Radiohead song. It feels epic and grand and enormous. It feels like just a huge, enormous monolith, similar to what it's named after, because it is Pyramid Song.
Oh, yes.
Pyramid Song, I think, is just one of the most beautiful pieces of music ever made. And I once did it at karaoke, and it's not a good song. That's the only bad thing about it, is you can't sing Pyramid Song at karaoke.
No.
But it's I don't know, I think it's beautiful and gorgeous. Genius.com describes it as malevolent, moving and epic, and yeah, I think it is, and that's what I like. It's got that darkness running throughout it that it feels creepy and strange and unsettling, but beautiful at the same time, like the best Radiohead songs do. So yeah, Pyramid Song. Why is it called Pyramid Song? Who on earth could possibly know?
Who knows?
Yeah, there's some. I was looking all the songs up earlier, and there's like a theory from Radiohead fans that you can use the note progression of the song to form a pyramid, but I don't know if that sounds bonkers bizarre to me. So we'll see. But yeah, there you go, Pyramid Song.
Good, love it.
What's your number one?
My number one.
Creep.
Is
it Creep? I bet it's Creep. It's probably Creep, right? Because Creep's the best song. So
it is the best song. Unfortunately, I didn't put the obvious songs, Karma Police or Creep, as anything, because they're obviously incredible songs.
Yeah.
So my number one song is from OK Computer, and it's between Electioneering and Lucky.
Ooh. Oh wow.
And I'm gonna go for Lucky. So my number one Radiohead song is Lucky from their album OK Computer. I love this song. It's so sad and so beautiful to listen to. There's a moment where it says, "But I don't have time for him," and then it's gonna be a glorious day. And how he sings "It's gonna be a glorious day" just gets me in my soul.
I feel my look could change.
Yeah. Glorious day, and I just so amazing, and I just love this song because even when he sings, when he goes "Kill me, Sarah, kill me again," you don't until you read the lyrics, you don't know he's saying kill me, Sarah. It could say anything, and I think that's another thing why I love Radiohead, and I love how Tom York sings, and I love because their lyrics are part of the music, and sometimes it doesn't really matter what they say because it's all part of the experience. Although what they say is really important, even if you don't understand their language, which when I was 14, I didn't understand all of the English language, I still love them. You know, they're a magical band. Yeah. But I love Electioneering as well. Sorry.
Yeah, like Electioneering's a good rocky one. It's probably the rockiest song on OK Computer, isn't it? So but no, Lucky's a great choice. I like it. An unexpected decision. But every time I hear Lucky, I'm always like, this song is so much better than I remember, because it's nestled away at the end of the album. It's easy to forget about it, but it's it is beautiful. So thank you for choosing it. It's good. Right, well, that's do you want to? I'll run through my top five one more time, and then you can run through yours. So I had at number 5 off of In Rainbows, Body Snatchers, and then number 4 from the OK Computer Sessions and re-released finally on the OK Not OK album Lift. Number 3 from the King of Limbs Live at the Basement video, The Daily Mail. Number 2 from the Bends is Street Spirit Fade Out, and number 1 off of Amnesiac is Pyramid Song.
Lovely choices. My number 5 from In Rainbows, Videotape. My number 4 from the album Amnesiac, I Might Be Wrong. My number 3 from Kid A, Idiotech. From number 2 from the band's Street Spirit. And from OK Computer, Lucky.
Nice. So I've got a few honourable mentions from each of their albums.
You want to go there?
Through. What?
You want to go for the honourable mentions?
Yeah, it's worth doing that, isn't it? Quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got off of Pablo Honey, Creep, and a smaller one that I have always really loved is Anyone Can Play Guitar. You know that song?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I adore that song. I wanna be Jim Morrison. From the Bends, you've got the titular song The Bends, along with High and Dry, Fake Plastic Trees, and Just, which I really love. Off of OK Computer, obviously Paranoid Android, Let Down, Karma Police, which you've mentioned, and Electioneering are my big songs from that. From Kid A, Everything in Its Right Place, Idiotech, the song from Kid A that very nearly was on my top 5, the National Anthem. I love that song.
Yeah.
Off of Amnesiac, we got You and Whose Army, Knives Out, and I Might Be Wrong that you named. Off of Hail to the Thief, not my favourite album, but There is a really good tune off of Hail to the Thief, which I think you agree with.
Yeah.
Off of In Rainbows, 15 Step, All I Need, Jigsaw Falling Into Place, and Reckoner. Reckoner's such a good song. Off of The King of Limbs, you got Lotus Flower is worth a listen, and off of Moonshaped Pool, Burn the Witch, Daydreaming and Identikit are wonderful. And from sort of non-album things, like I mentioned earlier, I Promise and Man of War are really good. And off of their very recent re-release of Kid A and Amnesiac, If You Say the Word and Follow Me Around, both could potentially be in my top 5 in the future, but I haven't listened to them enough yet to say, but they're great. In particular, Follow Me Around is awesome and has a great music video they've just put out that features Guy Pearce, which is worth watching. Do you have anything that you'd like to highlight?
From Pablo Honey, Creep, from the Bends, Bulletproof, you didn't mention. I really like that. From OK Computer, the ones you didn't mention, Paranoid Android, Exit Music, No Surprises. From Kid A, Everything Is in the Right Place, the National Anthem, well, you mentioned it. Amnesiac, Packed Like Sardines, the Pyramid Song, I Might Be Wrong. Well, no, that wasn't me. In Rainbows, 15 Steps, All I Need, Videotape. Hail to the Thief, Just There. And I'm going to go straight to A Moonshaped Pool, Daydreaming, and Identikit.
A wonderful set of honourable mentions as well. Thank you very much. Before we say goodbye, how do you want to approach homework this week?
Would be probably maybe something. I would like you to listen to an album I listened to this week.
Which album?
I would like you to listen to the album by Joy Crookes called Skins.
Cool. I will listen to Skin by Joy Crookes. I'll somehow find time between repeatedly listening to the new Idols album to listen to that as well.
Yeah. When is it coming out?
Yesterday.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness. November is going so quickly.
I know, yeah.
That's crazy. Okay.
So I've listened to it 4 times, so you got to catch up.
Yeah, definitely.
But no, I'll listen to that. And could you? I'll only listen to "Skin" by Doja Crook if you listen to "Prioritise Pleasure" by Self-Esteem.
Okay.
I've got a couple of recommendations for people from this week. I think that people should go and watch The Medium if they can. I really, really liked The Medium. And listen to, I mean, I've just told you to as homework, but as well, it's my recommendation for the week. Prioritise Pleasure by Self-Esteem is fantastic, and I'd love to talk about it more. So, yeah, people should go and listen to that. Do you have any recommendations?
So, yeah, I would like to recommend the 2 albums I listened to. So, I would like to recommend the album Planet Her by Doja Cat and the album Skin by Joy Crookes.
Lovely, lovely stuff. That's us for this week.
Yeah.
Next week, please come back and join us for the first part of our 2-part special on The White Lotus. Mike White's 2021 dark comedy satire for HBO, set on a Hawaiian resort. It's an absolute smash hit. So if you haven't seen it yet, go and watch it. And if you haven't watched it and you don't mind listening to two people talk you through it, then listen ahead anyway to our rambling. But we've recorded that already, and it's kind of the first of our slightly experimental new ways of doing episodes on the regular, to do deeper dives into things that we both want to talk about. So I really enjoyed recording those White Lotus episodes, so I hope that people enjoy them. Would you say, Alex?
Yeah, I think it's fun. You know, we talk about things that we enjoy. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool. Good. Please find us on every place you can on the internet. Instagram is where we're most active, but you can find us on Facebook as well, and various other places. Links to all of our social media channels are in the show notes for this and every episode, along with links to anything we've discussed in Culture Catch Up and the MyTube videos that we watch as well. So please do check the show notes to get all of that juicy detail. And it's been a good fun time. Please join us for that in the future. Thank you so much. Love you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.